Entrepreneurship was the only route I had. Being in the corporate world the way I was going, making the choices I had, not having the time to focus on my own health the way I could have. My mom had issues. As she's awaiting this transplant, she's in the hospital for about a month, I start experiencing myself. Her physicians diagnosed her with the same condition she has. I didn't know how bad it was. And if things had progressed the way they were, I might not be alive. It's simply taking this principle of being a little bit better each day. The corporate world was fascinating. I was successful at it, but it wasn't sustainable. I felt that if I had continued down that route, I might not have survived. It wasn't until I ran my first marathon in 2002, after I left the corporate world, that the numbers started shifting and improving.
Of course you did. Of course you did a marathon.
Yes,
well,
yes.
But you got your numbers started getting better, and you started getting healthier. And
exactly, healthier and stronger. I no longer have that condition. And then in having free time, flexibility, learning how to be a better entrepreneur. I was 25 years of modeling people, learning strategies, working with the right mentors, learning about how to leverage effectively, even from you. You and I partnered together in Success Circles. You challenged me to have a daily stand-up with my team, which we still do. It's been a game changer. We see somebody else doing these things, and you're like, okay, this works. Let me test this out. That which gets measured consistently improves exponentially. That whole idea of being a little bit better each day.
We are at the nexus of something greater. This is our story about building a remote-only company that spans the entire globe. This is the future of business, technology, and global remote work. You are watching Discovering the Possible.
welcome to Discovering the Possible. I'm here with my guest, Joseph Varghese. And Joseph Varghese's mission is simple, and that is to help high performers become even better. Through his work at Success Circles, which I am a member of, he supports entrepreneurs and leaders in integrating work and life so they can live more intentionally and thrive through both. With over 2 decades of experience in technology management, marketing, and strategic consulting, Joseph brings deep insight into personal development and long-term business success. He's worked with major companies like Pfizer, JP Morgan, GE Capital, back in the day anyway. And he's known for his out-of-the-box thinking. A serial entrepreneur, Joseph co-founded ventures like Microfly, an event planning company that brought people together through charity and fundraisers. I have also had the opportunity to be matched with Joseph at Success Circles. I've learned quite a bit about him and his goals, and he's helped me a great deal, almost in a way, not only holding me accountable, but also coaching me. And I know that's also a part of your business as well, where every day we show up to try to make ourselves 1% more productive than the day before, maybe 1% more successful as well. Joseph, welcome to Discovering the Possible. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure to be here, Chris.
So, we've talked about a lot in your career and the people you've met over that time, and you've been in touch with a lot of high-achieving individuals. Can you maybe give us a breakdown of sort of your arc of your own personal development and how those high achievers impacted your life?
Absolutely. I believe there's an idea that when you're around somebody who's a high performer, our performance rises by 15%. When we're around somebody who's a low performer, our performance can decrease by 30%. So I've made it a point over the years in this aim to be a little better than I was before. This idea called the Kaizen principle, to be around exceptional people like yourself. Because when I'm around people who are better than I am in a lot of ways, what happens is my own level of performance, how I show up in the world, how I listen, how I connect, how I engage improves. And I believe that's a philosophy that we all embraced. The idea of being a little better each day, great things doesn't happen. Over the years, I've had the chance to model other great entrepreneurs, leaders like yourself. Other members of our community have helped me to become a better business owner.
I remember talking about this, and I was blown away by all the people that touched you and that you've been a part of and worked with over the years.
I've been blessed to have worked with a number of rock star leaders in the space. Jay Abraham, the godfather of marketing, was my mentor about maybe 16 years ago. Michael Gerber helped me to see what I was doing with accountability could be branded. So this is back in 2007 at his event called The Dreaming Room. Tony Robbins I've worked with and attended his events over the course of 23 years at this point, seminars, programs.
Wow.
Been blessed to have worked with many, many people. It's been quite a journey, and there are bits of them that I've brought into myself, and in some cases I've added value to their world too with I brought Michael Gerber to New York, and he spearheaded a couple of dreaming rooms out here way back when, 2008. It's been a fun journey. Gino Wickman, somebody else, EOS, who I know you're familiar with as well.
Right. These are the big names, and you were there from the very beginning, sort of building these performance communities and benefiting and growing as these leaders of the field really developed and became who they are today.
Yes.
It must have been an amazing ride.
It has been. It's still progressing, and what I believe to be the case is when you're around people, specifically peers, right, who are a couple of steps ahead of you, we can grow together. We can share distinctions. I'm still learning. Like I spoke to my brain trust momentum buddy earlier, Eric, who you know, and
wow,
he kind of challenged me around EOS and the model, and little itty bits of feedback are very useful. And what we've come to recognize is that we need to be reminded more than we need to learn. All I did is I built a system where we're actively reminding each other of our greatness, a little 1% that we already know in a lot of ways, and formulating a partnership where execution, taking action, is a critical part of making progress, where execution is everything, right? And that's all I've done. For me, taking action and inspiring others to execute on their dreams is vital, because we can think a lot and we can have insights, but without progress, nothing really happens.
Yeah.
Discovering the Possible is presented by Kayana. Visit hirekayana.com right now to hire the top 1% Filipino professionals smarter and faster. That's hirekayana.com.
And, you know, you were really my entree into the world of masterminds in so many ways. And I have actually been blown away by my experience in success circles. And for anyone that's listening, I'd highly recommend you look into it. Maybe talk about the format of success circles a little bit, because I don't think people fully understand what's possible in a mastermind and how it works, and maybe the different flavors of mastermind, and maybe how success circles might be the same or different in your mind.
Of course. So I think success circle is a bit different from most masterminds. A mastermind typically it's a cohort of a number of people, 5, 6 people, and there's this idea that Napoleon Hill has: you are the average of the 5 people around you, and I believe that to be the case. We've taken that idea of the mastermind, we've made it a bit more intimate in something called a brain trust. And a brain trust is basically 2 individuals who connect together, have a daily huddle. I personally embrace the idea of life being a sport. The idea that every day could be a game. The game begins when we get up. The game ends when we get to bed. I love basketball because basketball is 4 quarters. If we see the day as being 4 quarters, Q1 is 8 to 12, 12 to 4, 4 to 8. We wind down in 8 to midnight. If we are able to break our day into a fun game and see at the start of the game, there's a huddle. The huddle is access to the team coming together, strategizing to win, reflecting on the highs, lows, lessons from the previous game, previous day, and how can we make today better. So all we've done is we've gamified progress by seeing that this whole world we live in, this creation we have, work-life integration, each day being a game, as a fun game where access to winning is play. And the huddle, that one-on-one intimate brain trust, the conversations you have each weekday or 3 days a week for 2 weeks, is access to making this day, today's day, better than the last. So it's just a simple way of looking at life as being a fun game, each day is being a game. Then as the day progresses, as we hit the bed and we wind down, there's a smile that comes across our face. I gave it my all, right? And then, wow, getting excited because a new day begins. And how do we bring this idea of fun and play and engagement into this world of entrepreneurship, where people see this thing as a lot of work, as maybe the previous culture of hustle or grind? How do we break out of that and see it all as a fun game where we write the rules of engagement to ensure that this game progresses, is fun, is enjoyable, that the people around us win too? How do we make the games enjoyable such that the people involved with us, our team, I know you've got an amazing number of ventures that you're involved with, specifically Kayana, like you've got the team around you. How do you engage them such that they're enjoying their journey, they're winning, they're profiting, they're progressing, their lives are progressing, they're serving their clients, everything we do. And that's how I see things. That's how I've essentially optimized success circles over the years.
I will say, like, for me, it is absolute fun, but it's also a ritual. And I find that the ritual of the daily engagement is, for me, is the thing. You know, I know all the lines. I know how to start the conversation. I know how to end it.
Yes.
And it starts with having to basically say that you're 100% accountable. You know, I'm 100% committed as your accountability coach. You're 100% committed to going full out and being as transparent as possible. I mean, I know exactly how I start that conversation, and I learned from you how you end it. What I always thought was interesting is you'd reflect or sort of provide feedback, but then you'd also say what your why was.
Yes.
And I think is very unique in that it reminds you and the person you're with about the things that matter and what you want them to hold you accountable to, not just sort of the daily things, but those sort of bigger picture issues, which I think gets lost in the fray sometimes when you're not constantly tending to it.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. There's a great speaker, Jim Rohn, passed away a number of years ago. He has a quote: the bigger the why, the easier the how. When you know your why, when it fuels you, when it pulls at your heartstrings, the things we do become easier because that why calls us to be better and show up. And sometimes it's useful to be able to speak it out loud and to ground a conversation with that. And declaring that the day now revolves around that, because it's like the whole push-pull thing. And there's a system I learned years ago around productivity, time management, called RPM. And the basis for that system was this similar idea of you write out the why behind each thing you're working on. It was inspired by Stephen Covey's work. All we've done is, I believe, there's an overarching why behind who we are. That why can change as time progresses. For most of us, it stays consistent. For me, it's 3 words. G.I. Joseph is what I call my why: generational impact, Joseph. And it calls me to be a better person. And for you, I'm sure it's unique to who you are. And the more inspired you can be, the more you can declare it and own it. Everything we do afterwards should line up with that, especially as we do execution, as we execute the actions, making the calls that are difficult, writing the blog post, recording the podcast, engaging the team. As time progresses, these things become easier because you build the muscle around these things. We execute early in our day. There's a whole science behind that too.
100%. You know, and you do a lot of coaching as well for people that are working through these transitions or sort of ramping up their execution. And you used to do, management consulting, technology management consulting for Fortune 500 companies.
Yes.
And now you are focusing on leadership development and personal growth and accountability and AI. Like, how did you navigate that shift from working for these larger organizations to basically navigating to community builder and executive coach and now AI expert? I know there's probably a lot of connective tissue here, but
there's several chapters in there. I'll connect them as well as I can. My family's from South India. They're from Kerala, India. It's a very community-based. They're there for each other. When something happens, we're there. My parents came to this country back in the 60s. My mom was a registered nurse. Growing up, my mom had heart issues. She'd have fainting spells and she was in and out of hospitals. Fast forward to my senior year of college, she is at Mount Sinai Hospital awaiting a heart transplant. She's in the hospital for about a month. I started experiencing palpitations myself. Her physicians diagnosed her with the same condition she has: idiopathic cardiomyopathy.
Oh, wow.
It's a blessing in disguise because my left ventricle is functioning at 31%. I didn't know how bad it was. And if things had progressed the way they were, I might not be alive. She had a successful transplant. She's still alive now, 89 this year.
Wow.
That heart condition that I was diagnosed with, treated by her doctor for 7 years at Mount Sinai Hospital, I no longer have. It's simply taking this principle of being a little bit better each day. For me, the corporate world was fascinating. I was successful at it. I made a lot of money, but it wasn't sustainable. I felt that if I had continued down that route, I might not have survived. Each time I would see the cardiologist, it would still stay at a 31% left ventricle. It wasn't until I ran my first marathon in 2002, after I left the corporate world, that the numbers started shifting, improving. And then
Of course you did. Of course you did a marathon.
yes.
Well,
yes.
sounds risky, but okay. But you got your numbers started getting better, and you started getting healthier. And
Exactly, healthier and stronger. I no longer have that condition. And for me personally, entrepreneurship was the only route I had. Being in the corporate world, not having the time to focus on my own health, didn't give me access to manage my health the way I could have. And then in having free time, flexibility, learning how to be a better entrepreneur. I went 25 years of modeling people, learning strategies, working with the right mentors, learning about how to leverage effectively. When you and I partnered together in Success Circles, you challenged me to have daily stand-up with my team, which we still do at 10:30 each day for 20 minutes. We have daily stand-up. It's been a game changer. One little distinction, like modeling people, like yourself and Eric and Andy Zapata. We see somebody else doing these things and you're like, okay, this works. Let me test this out. That which gets measured consistently improves exponentially. That whole idea of being a little bit better each day.
right.
So my whole thing is, how do we make wealth building fun and easy? And how do we integrate the whole lifestyle, managing a family in my case and many of our clients? How do we enjoy this journey together where we're all reaping the rewards of wealth and being a better entrepreneur and doing great things, creating impact in the world the way you're doing?
Yeah.
And for me, it was necessary because the path that I was on years ago, I probably wouldn't have survived. Soon after I left that corporate world, in a short time, my dad passed away of a second stroke in 2004. It was a reminder to me that working at a job probably wouldn't be the best strategy for me personally, given what I was seeing in our genetic coding.
Wow. So that's amazing. I didn't know that backstory, and that's remarkable. Well, you've made quite a name for yourself, and I think some people have called you sort of a breakthrough engineer. You find yourself in a tough situation, but you engineer your way out of it. And I'm sure there is many different out-of-the-box solutions that you've developed over the years. But I'm curious, in 2025, in the day and age in which you live, what gets you excited? What kind of breakthroughs do you see for people that are discovering all sorts of things, I guess technology being one of them?
So for me, it's seeing my clients make progress, thrive, recognize what they're good at, and build a business venture that they're proud of. Maybe even helping each other too. One of your friends, David Vogel, I think he shared with you about this community, and then another member of our community, Eric, is helping him build out this component of his business, the secondary business he has with Heirloom. When I hear people having breakthroughs that way, helping each other out, going beyond accountability, also finding ways to ignite each other's dreams, that inspires me. And I've seen that happen over the years. It's this peer-to-peer support, engagement, connection, being inspired by someone's journey. I'm also excited about AI. We talked about it before, and the advancements, and it's fascinating to me that we can build these automations. And there's so much happening in AI that's just changing the whole landscape. And it's just like predicting what will happen next. That really excites me about this field. I'm a technologist at heart, but I also love people. Hence the reason why I do what I do. And I believe there's a way of integrating them both together, especially if we're able to think out of the box and see how these tools can help us be better.
When we talked, we were talking about how you were using AI, and I was talking about, the content that your breakout session, that everyone gets in their breakout sessions, is remarkable. If you could somehow bottle that up, it would be remarkable. You have dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of people in Success Circles. Every person is remarkable in their own way. But Eric touched me. I said to him, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds in 5 weeks. And he said, how are you doing? And I said, I'm going to cut out carbs. This is based on a recommendation of my friend. He goes, you just need to do some extended fasting. I tell you, every day we would have a check-in. And
Wow.
man, and when I started approaching 10 pounds, he's like, why don't you go for 15? And sure enough, I lost 15 pounds in like 6 weeks. Basically doing extended fasting, which I never would have expected out of this, obviously. But the talents of the people of the group are the things that you're leveraging. And there's an unexpected opportunity around each corner. It doesn't surprise me that David and Eric are sort of working together. I mean, it's just the types of people that you attract and the opportunities they create for each other is remarkable. It's fundamental to my success, truthfully, Joseph. It's one of the reasons why I want to have you on the show, because of what you're doing for me and for my company. But I know for so many others as well.
Being able to connect intimately in a conversation really makes a difference, especially when there's authenticity, openness. We can be very direct about what we're dealing with. Yeah. And it's just 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? That whole idea. It's easy to go through life and atrophy, have our muscles atrophy, have our minds atrophy. When we connect with people who see the best in us or want us to succeed, those little tweaks make a big difference. And sometimes it's also, as I mentioned before, sometimes it's a matter of being reminded, speaking to things out loud, making those tweaks ourselves, because when we speak out loud, we engage in greater critical thinking. Sometimes I can do it with AI. I can have conversations with my AI advisor, my ChatGPT, and that's well and said. But talk to another human who gets the depth of what it means to be a human being, being an entrepreneur, striving to be a better person, can be very impactful. Hence the idea of having a committed listener. So all of our members are basically committed listeners to each of us, and we just found a way that 2 weeks at a time is a good time to connect and engage that way, and then get another perspective the next 2 weeks and measure our progress along that way.
That's and the accountability that comes with that relationship that you builds a deeper relationship faster than I've ever experienced in my life. Because so often, like, you go to networking sessions or you go into sort of these speed dating things, and you might meet someone that you really sort of get along with, but are you willing to make a daily commitment to them to really get to know each other? And oftentimes the answer is no, because it's hard to sort of think about that within the construct of a day if it's not happening regularly. But within the success circles, it happens every day and every 2 week cycle. And like, I have to say, I was away on vacation last week, and I come back this week. I'm missing it. I know I'm missing out right now. And, I'll get back on the horse, obviously, in the following Monday, but it is remarkable. And I have to say, so the accountability is fundamental, but the growth that comes from that accountability is remarkable. I noticed about the members in general is that they really try to maintain balance. And I think, we had talked about what that means for someone in your community. And one of the things I found very interesting is about how you think about each day. Like, your Monday is a certain type of day and your Tuesday is another certain type of day.
Oh, yeah. Approach. So I theme my days.
Yes, that's what I mean.
I've gotten better at theme my days. So some of the ideas around this has come from feedback that I've received from other members of Success Circles who I've modeled over the years. Yeah. So we are each executive producers of our lives. So each day there's a certain theme to it. For me, it's Momentum Monday. It's Tremendous Tuesday, Why Wednesday. I theme my days, and there's certain activities I do on each of those days that when I follow through with that theme, I can predict a good amount of success as the weekends. And as an example, the breakthrough I had last year is I've been taking Tuesdays as my freedom owner days. Right. Sometimes I'm in nature, sometimes I'll watch a show. And these are things that inspired me to be substantially better because I'm focusing on the business. This is like a new development for the past year. I've been doing that. It's part of my theme for every Tuesday. We have members of our community who take the whole day off to focus on family, no technology. And I've noticed a certain level of productivity that these people have because they're just willing to disconnect and focus on the things that are important to them, their family and their faith. And that to me inspires me. I can learn from that. There's probably value in all of us learning from that, taking a day off each week. So it's in the theming of the week, how we theme those things, that we're able to make progress. There's this idea called the 12-week year. There's a book by Brian Moran, and week 13, you take a week off, and it's a framework. And we've adopted some of those ideas in one of our programs and successor was called the team program. It's just a framework that there's a predictable result to it. We've tested this out over the years, and we just found ways to make our own version of it work. And we've leveraged AI, and that's all we've done. It's just seeing every opportunity to embrace themes, to improve on our framework, knowing that by staying consistent with this fun theme we have each day, there is likely a predictable result out of it. Then how do we make it even better for the next quarter, for the next cycle? And who else can we model? I'm a guinea pig in my business. It's a good thing.
That is amazing. Holy cow. Let's talk a little more about AI and how you're implementing it and where you think people should begin there. Because I think, at least what I've noticed, there's still a tremendous aversion to it. And I feel continuously astounded by the developments and how it's changing and how people are innovating around it.
Yes.
Where do people get started with that journey, and maybe give us a glimpse of what's possible? Knowing what you know about how you maximize efficiency, because that is, you're all about accountability and efficiency and productivity and growth. Where does AI fit into that model once you've sort of gone up the ramp?
Well, there's AI around us already. AI has been around for years. It's just the past 3 years with these LLM models that there's been a lot more innovation with these processors that can do some unique things.
Yeah.
AI is as big or even bigger than when the internet became a big thing back in the 90s. And what can we do with the World Wide Web? Everything we know that exists has shifted because of the way the internet is, and things we can do. I believe it's bigger than what the internet was back in the 90s. And I believe we have to embrace it. And if we don't, then we're going to get disrupted. The number of fields, careers that are being completely obliterated because people are not willing to adopt. Blockbuster got eliminated because Netflix saw the potential of streaming video and those services.
Yeah.
So it's essential that we embrace AI. And I think the simplest way, I talk about engaging AI as an advisor. And I show people how they can, using multimodal AI, ChatGPT, they can have conversations and get feedback on things that they're looking to innovate on in their lives.
Right.
Having conversations can be useful, especially if we're looking to enhance, optimize some area of our life or find a resolution around something. We mentioned Michael Gerber before. Lots of brilliance. I could easily tap into Michael's brilliance by having a GPT with his books and programs and our conversations, his coaching to me, and I can still access his brilliance. I think it's vital for people to recognize what areas being disrupted and what they need to tap into to avoid being disrupted, and how they can use these technologies to enhance their lives, whether it's using Google or Alexa to check on the weather or plan out their day, right? There's so many uses. It's already here. It's just a matter of just asking better questions to our AI in hopes of getting better answers for the things that we're looking to improve on in our lives.
100%. You know, AI in so many ways is redefining like workflow and how things get done. As you know, Kayana and my business is predominantly in remote professional business and dealing with and sort of integrating remote professionals into the workflows of a business. And I know you've done that too. How do you decide who does the work? How do you decide how it gets done? Is it done by an AI? Is it done by a remote professional in your team? Do you have remote professionals using AI? Have you designed systems or methods to streamline those processes? I'm sure you have in some way, shape, or form. Can you maybe share some of those stories with us and where those changes happened when you chose one thing over another?
Great question. I love what you've done with Kayana and how you connect people together with AI. AI is very vital to connect people with virtual assistants who have strengths that can align with what they're up to. Right. There is a marriage between AI and virtual assistants because the work we do can be automated, streamlines, or a number of tools out there. And every week they're competing against one another, right? They're getting better. And
crazy.
the things that are possible are extraordinary. Again, things we're able to do are pretty extraordinary. Typically what we do is we'll create an SOP, a standard operating procedure. We'll learn this is the tool, this is the process we do demonstrate at one time. We'll write an SOP that goes into Notion, and that gets shared with my team. And they have that as an access base toward replicating that again. Like all these things were difficult years ago. You used to have to hire a transcription company. Now you do these things easily. Even how I journal now, I speak into my journal app and it records everything and it's done. It's taken care of. The things that took significant time years ago are so much easier now with the tools, technology, whether it's editing videos, whether it's doing a voiceover, whether it's building an automation, whether it's programming an app. There's so much that's just mind-blowing in this space. For business owners embracing virtual assistants and AI, it's a matter of testing which one you need for what you're doing and keep innovating as time progresses, because as time progresses, different tools will do better work.
When you think about your own teams and the people that you coach, at Kayana, we're very much like a can-do attitude. And I find the can-do attitude in success circles is deep. It's the culture of the place. Everyone there has a very proactive approach. When you are coaching people and are coaching your own teams, how do you instill that can-do in them? Is there a way of coaching it into them? Like, how do you approach that?
And I heard this message before that we can encourage or we can exalt. When we exalt, basically see that person for the greatness. We kind of envision that person for their greatest selves. So every conversation I have with my team members or my buddy in success circles, I often see them in their greatest self, making choices. And maybe for a moment they forgot what the choices were and they made some mistakes. We all make mistakes. We're human. So at the start of much everything, and this is leadership, at the heart of everything I do, it's this idea that they're leaders. And I'm empowering them to be even better leaders, empowering them to be even more resourceful. And sometimes we forget, we make mistakes. And there's a way of, through feedback, through community, through engagement, we can remind each other, well, there's a better way, or there's something that you might overlook this time. How do we optimize this so that next time the system can be improved so these mistakes will be less so? Yeah. And it's rarely out of making people wrong. It's more of just recognizing this is our mission. We're here to support entrepreneurs, become better business owners, take more time off so we can all win together. So this is our overarching mission for what we're doing. And I find that's very useful when it comes to engaging my team. Each morning on these stand-up sessions, inspired by you, by the way, we often start the conversation. Well, let's remind you guys that this is our mission. It's to serve more entrepreneurs, to be better business owners. It's just reminding them how great they are, just exalting their greatness with a unique strength, their zone of genius that they have. I have 3 virtual assistants, my team. Probably be hiring more in the future. We'll have a conversation. It's and Jimmy's been with me for 10 years now. Manages operations. He handles all things that are technical, systems based, and Jade handles things around copy and content creation. She edits podcasts. It's also lining people up with their zone of genius.
Right.
I can't have Jimmy go out and do messaging or sales conversations that probably wouldn't line with his zone of genius. So it's recognizing that. And even as entrepreneurs, we have our own zone of genius, or things that I'm good at that I can't expect other people to be good at. What we found in success circles is that when we pair people up together who are, let's say, high level visionaries, owner mindset, it often works if they connect with other people who operate in that mindset too. If they connect with somebody who's an operator, they might overthink their business. Versus if they connect with another visionary, they can strategize and see things, the bigger picture, and be reminded of what they're doing. A lot of this is matching, and I'm sure you do a lot of this with the work you do, connecting people with people who can support them to stay in their zone of genius.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our zone of genius expands somewhat because of AI, though, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes. I feel like part of this is just having the humility to know what you don't know and then asking. And the beauty of AI is it's just there with you, and it doesn't ask for anything other than for you to engage with it. And I think in some ways that's the can do. It's like just being curious, just being engaged and curious, I think your zone of competence does expand. You can sort of self-train in some ways, which I think is kind of fun. Which means that the three remote professionals that you're working with, you come to the table with an idea of what's possible, but maybe that's changed. Maybe maybe what's possible is expanded. Maybe the level of productivity that they can achieve is higher. And that's why these stand-up meetings for me have always been so important. And by the way, I'm totally stealing these sort of, let's remind ourselves of why we're here thing that you did. Like, that's okay. You have improved my idea, and I am totally taking that. But reminding ourselves of the mission, and then constantly pushing on EOS and the goals and the rocks that stand before us to sort of grow. You add that with accountability, and it's like it's totally been gasoline on my fire. And I think, honestly, the reason why I had you on this show is because if I could think of one game-changing, piece of advice I could give any entrepreneur, it'd be join success circles, because the momentum and the accountability that you get with the people that are there and the quality of the people there is tremendous. But I'm going to take that one away from you. If you had to give them a second piece of advice to scale their business as entrepreneurs, what would it be? Because I just took your best one, which is to join success circles, which is totally a winner. But if there's another one, what would it be?
It's all a sport. It's all a game. We see it all as a fun game. It makes this journey a lot easier. And there are going to be a lot of pivots in this game. If you're flying on an airplane, it makes thousands of pivots to get to a destination. Right. Feedback is very useful to kind of optimize and make sure you're on the right track. We've been testing these things out with AI. You can build up. It's easy to build a site up, build a page up, to test these ideas out. And if you can do that effectively and test out your idea, your MVP, you can get there faster or eliminate the option and choose something different. But at the end of it, it's all made up, and that you create the rules of engagement in this game. That's for this made up thing you're building out. Extraordinary things can happen if you have the right tools and the right team behind it. They're a lot easier to put out there, and don't be afraid. It's all a game. It's all made up. Just get out there and do it. The most important thing is execution. We found over the years that execution tends to be best in the morning, the first part of the day. As the day progresses, for most of us, we have this inner dialogue that comes in that says, okay, I'll do it later on, or who am I to do this, or is this even worth it? All that inner dialogue that all of us as humans have, it comes to play. And if we can get those actions done earlier in their day, the first 3-4 hours, that's all it takes. And you do that each day, 3 hours a day, executing on those vital things in your business each day. And eventually you start getting traction toward that dream and toward your legacy. And that is meaningful when that happens.
Joseph, thank you for being on the show today. If people are looking for you and are trying to find you and are success circles, where can they look? Where can they find you?
Let's face it, if you go to applytosuccess.com, there's a application, goes to a page called huddle.rcp, but applytosuccess.com. There's an application, they can fill it out. It goes to me, it goes right to my calendar link. That would be the best place to tap into Success Circles, what we do, applytosuccess.com.
And what if they're trying to find you? Where can they find you?
They can go to my personal page. It's jvny.com. I live in New York City. So JVNY, 4 letters, jvny.com is my personal page, my personal calendar, and some of the things I'm up to. My personal blog is there, and give me my mom and my family. We're all there. I shared various articles there about my journey, and for me, family is very important. Family is one of the reasons why I do what I do. Perfect.
Thank you, Joseph. Thanks for being on Discovering the Possible, and I look forward to being your buddy again soon.
Me too. Thank you, Chris.